With V-Rising's 1.0 release just around the corner, I thought I'd make a big comprehensive guide of absolutely everything we know that's coming in the 1.0 release. For all you new players out there, V-Rising is a game developed by Stunlock Studios, the same team behind Battlerite, and has been in early access for about 2 years now. It's a free camera, isometric, open-world survival game that heavily focuses on combat mechanics, base building, and character progression. You can play this game either solo or with friends and on various different types of servers, ranging from PvE servers, RP servers, PvP servers, and even full loot PvP servers, which are for all you hardcore fans. The combat in V-Rising is absolutely incredible. It features a sort of fluid class system where you can choose from dozens of different spells, abilities, weapons, and now armor sets to match your perfect playstyle. On May 8th, which at the time of this video is just 2 days away, it will open up from early access into a full 1.0 version with massive overhauls to pre-existing systems as well as a ton of new content, including a brand new zone, new weapons, new dynamic events, among other things. This is going to be a long one, so I've got my coffee here, settle down, and let's dig into this massive update. Let's start off with the shiny new zone, the Ruins of Mortium, which will be located here on the map. This new zone will feature new bosses, probably at least 3 or 4, being Dracula himself and 3 of his generals. There will be new in-game events in this zone that will draw players together to a specific area to compete over valuable resources, likely including the new legendary weapons, but probably also other endgame materials that we don't know about yet. We also know that there will be no sunlight in this zone, so it will be a constant cesspool of conflict without the pesky sun interrupting all the fun. As I said previously, the new endgame events are going to be called Rifts, and they will only exist between 8 AM and midnight. This will serve as a much needed endgame loop. Speaking of endgame loops, they also have totally changed the way that shards work. Shards were unique structures that you could obtain from killing the final few bosses of the game, which you would then store within your base and interact with for a powerful buff. This of course served as the main endgame content, especially for PvP servers. Other clans could raid your castle to try to steal your valuable shards. This, as you can imagine, led to all sorts of weird drama and situations. So in 1.0, there will no longer be structures for your base. Instead, they will be attached to your necklace and will deplete over time, meaning you have to go out in the world and recharge them, putting yourself and your shard at great risk. This means that the shards are a much more dynamic system. You're going to see a lot more of them in the world. Expect to see various different players and clans holding the shards within a single day. I think this is a really awesome change. They have also hinted that the shards will give unique ultimate abilities, shown here in this dev blog on their Steam page. Along with the new shards, they are adding a couple new weapons and a bunch of new gear sets. Starting with the new weapons, we'll be getting the longbow and the whip, 2 nice new additions to our already great roster of weapons. The whip features a very powerful auto attack and this interesting little dash into an AoE attack as one of its abilities. And we can see in this footage one of the longbow abilities, which is a nice frontal cone. We've really only had the crossbow and the pistols for ranged options, so I'm sure this will make a lot of people happy. We'll also be getting a plethora of new spells and spell changes, but I'll be making an in-depth video of those changes soon after the release, so be on the lookout for that one. Right now, let's take a look at the gear though. They've decided to add various different armor sets at every tier, so you are able to customize your playstyle even further and earlier on into the game. Say you want to be a caster archetype, for example. Well, you could slap on the caster armor set early on, and you'll feel a little more powerful than with the other armor sets. This really gives each player some fun new ways to identify their character. And you'll also be able to mix and match the sets. There are 4 armor slots on your character, not including the necklace, and each set gives a bonus when you're wearing 2 or more of that set. So you could play around, for example, with 2 pieces of the caster set and say 2 pieces of the rogue archetype set. Then on top of that, you'll be able to customize the look of your armor with color schemes, and even replace the look of it entirely with a different armor set that you like the look of. They are also adding new server difficulty settings. If you are a new player or enjoy a more casual, laid-back experience and would like to focus on things like RP, socialization, and castle building, you may be interested in the relaxed setting. This will tone down the difficulty of the bosses a bit so you can focus on the things that matter to you more. The normal mode will be the default setting, as the game is intended to be played for the majority of players. Bosses will be challenging, but not a headache. Then there's brutal mode. This mode will scale the boss's difficulty greatly, so each boss will pose a significant threat to you and your friends. I can see hardcore one life communities popping up with this game setting now, so that'll be interesting to see. I can only imagine how difficult the final boss will be, Dracula. Along with the new gear customization, we'll also be getting even deeper spell customization. We already have spell gems in the game, which are items you can craft within your castle with rare gems you find from mining nodes or crates, and can give special upgrades to your spells. For example, you could have a spell gem that gives your spell a bit more damage, a bit more range, or a faster cast time. This is already great, but we're also getting something entirely new on top of that. This is the Stygian Altar, and we'll be able to find resources in the world called Stygian Shards to unlock unique passive traits to apply to our characters. In the endgame, we'll obtain some greater Stygian Shards, likely from the rifts in Mortium, allowing us to either unlock some of the more powerful passives from the altar, or even gamble them at a vampire trader for legendary weapons, or if we're lucky, even the new, named, tailor-made legendary weapons with new unique effects. We also have some neat quality of life changes coming, like inventory management and castle relocation. So we'll be able to move our castles without having to take all our stuff down and haul it ourselves across the map. Since this is the 1.0 release, it's safe to say that you can expect changes to the old zones. This includes Farbane Woods, Dunley Farmlands, Silverlight, the Cursed Forest, and the first expansion zone released last year, Gloomrot. The gameplay loop for most players will be to spawn into a world and race to find a good plot of land for your castle. Progressing your way through the massive amount of bosses in the game, you'll also now be progressing your gear, Stygian Altar, and spells via the new spell progression system. Bosses will now drop spell points instead of specific spells, so you are able to choose what spells you want to unlock first within that spell tree. So if you're interested in a frost build, for example, and want to get that going early on, I try to focus on the bosses that drop frost spell points early on, so you can experience the progression of the game with that build that you prefer. They've also worked on game performance and lighting, so the game should look and run better than ever. Along with the new content, there will also be a new DLC pack for purchase, which will be Castlevania themed. It includes a new wolf form, human form, and a bunch of new castle decorations, among other things. I have a video on that DLC pack, which I'll link in the description. Along with rifts in the endgame, we're also getting another form of dynamic event early on, called caravans. These will be loot-dense traveling caravans which you'll be able to fight over in the open world. This could be a great way to boost your resource yield early on, but will likely be highly contested. We're also getting a new form, spider form. This will allow us to turn into a spider and burrow into the ground, safe from sunlight. I can already imagine some hilarious ambushes happening. It's going to be wild. I think that about covers everything I wanted to go over in this video. Hopefully you feel a little more ready to dive into Vardarin. And if you're looking for guides or other forms of content around V Rising, keep an eye out for some future videos of mine. I'll be making some lore videos of each zone, as well as a beginner guide to the game and a bunch of other content. I expect there to be a lot of new players joining us, and we welcome you all. But that's all for now. Rest easy, and we'll see you on the 8th.